Well, hundreds of defense and security experts are gathering in Halifax this weekend for two separate conferences, the NATO Parliamentary Assembly and the Halifax International Security Forum, dealing with issues such as espionage, terrorism, and Russian meddling. Canada's defense minister will be among the speakers. And joining me now is Canada's Defence Minister Harjit Sajjan. Minister, great to see you. I want to start out first with a report that says that Canada is resisting calls by the UN to extend the mission in Mali. Why is Canada doing that?
First of all, I just want to say that our Air Task Force is doing tremendous work, and I believe you had an opportunity to go have a visit. And when we made our announcement, our government's announcement, our re-engagement on peace support operations, this is about helping the United Nations with their reforms. And one thing that the United Nations were really keen on looking for was about the smart pledging concept, which means about making sure that missions have high-level capability that can be sustained for a number of years and not burdening one nation with it. And that's what we in Canada have offered up. A one-year high-level capability of a medical evacuation with our Air Task Force. And now discussions have been ongoing with the United Nations about it's not about finding a replacement, but actually about making the smart pledge concept into a reality. So this is about having multiple nations take on the responsibility. And this way it'll make sure that not only the mission in Mali, but other missions will have high-level capabilities for a longer duration.
But Minister, when I was there, one of the things that consistently came up from other countries is that they value Canada's contribution, and if it were up to them, they would love to have Canada extend. One of the countries that has been talked about as Canada's replacement is Romania. I believe you were there last weekend. The issue, though, there is that Romania isn't expected to get there until October, so there will be a few months gap between when Canada leaves and that other country comes in. So why not just give UN some extra few months of capability to fill that gap?
No, I mean, the discussions that we've had with a number of nations and especially Romania, I had a great discussion regarding that, and then they're working towards their cycle of approval. But in terms of how things operate, even when we took over, there always will be I wouldn't call it even gaps. This is even more of a tactical level issue where sometimes you can't even actually have that number of aircraft on the tarmac. But point being is, the United Nations actually in MINUSMA has the ability to be able to making sure that the medical evacuation capability is filled during that time. So right now there isn't a concern regarding the mission losing a capability. And this is about us. We'll work through these issues, but Canada is going to be out after the year. And we'll work with the United Nations and the other partners that might be stepping up.
Minister, I want to switch gears. The German Chancellor Angela Merkel and the French President Emmanuel Macron have both made calls for a European army to complement NATO. Does Canada support that, the idea of a European army?
Well, at NATO, we do have regular discussions with the European Union representatives on this topic, and we work out on how the efforts that are going to be done within the EU are going to be complementary to NATO, and everything thus far is moving in that direction. There's a lot of good work with the EU that they can do to be able to support what NATO is already doing. The simple fact of being able to move forces from the various countries quickly is something that we not only have been talked about, but we want to be able to test out as well. And simple things like making sure that the road systems can be able to sustain the weight of some of the vehicles that we have. So there's a lot of work that can be done that can be complementary. We are mindful that we don't want to create redundancy, and we haven't got any indications from the EU representatives that
Minister,
they don't want that as well.
Forgive me for interrupting, but you know, this was something that Donald Trump perceived as quite a politically charged statement. He was quite angry when these statements were made, these calls for a European army. So where does Canada sit on this? I mean, does Canada feel that a European army, a continental army, is necessary? Is it with the Germans and the French on this call, or is it with Donald Trump on this?
I mean, it's I wasn't there, and it's hard to sometimes unpack comments that have been made.
But the comments were widely reported, as you know.
One thing I'm going to tell you, based on the work that, the work that we do at NATO and with the EU, we do that extensively. We have a number of meetings at NATO, and we have been going through this for a number of years. A lot of good work has been done and needs to be done within the European Union, to making sure that it is complementary to NATO. And I'm actually been very happy with the work. We support the EU's effort onto this, and we have also voiced our concerns. We don't want redundancy. NATO is the primary military deterrence alliance. It's working very well. It is not only being modernized, interoperability is not only being worked on, but it's being demonstrated on the ground. We just had Operation Trident Juncture, the exercise that was conducted, one of the largest exercises that NATO has conducted since the Cold War. A lot of good work is happening. This is obviously done in partnership with the EU, and we welcome the EU's efforts in the complementary efforts that they're doing within their militaries.
Okay, let's switch gears again, talk a little bit about that December 2017 flight, the Team Canada flight that has been dubbed the Mardi Gras at 34,000 feet, a booze-filled flight. This happened in December 2017, as we mentioned. When did you find out exactly about what took place on this flight? And who was held accountable? Did anybody lose their job as a result?
Well, first of all, I was very disappointed to hear this, because the Team Canada concept is about increasing the morale of the troops. When I was made aware of it through the China Command, through General Vance, we were both very disappointed. Immediate action was taken to making sure that the victims on this were looked after. So that was number one priority. Immediate investigation was launched to get to the bottom of exactly what has happened. The Team Canada concept has been put on hold until we put the right structures in place. More importantly, we want to make sure that not only this does not happen again, we want to make sure that any type of future Team Canada concept stays to the true
Minister, I get it, but when did you find out, and was anybody fired?
The incident like this ever to happen again.
Two direct, simple questions.
Well, we need to make sure that, when it comes to we need to make sure that the appropriate investigations have been are conducted. Where the internal review on terms of exactly what has happened, that we have been going through that, and we'll make the appropriate decisions on this. One thing I can assure you, we will always look after our people, and we will thoroughly investigate things, not only to prevent it, to making sure that we create an inclusive environment within the Canadian Armed Forces, and anybody, if there's any been wrongdoing from a criminal aspect, it'll be dealt with through the court systems. And if somebody made inappropriate decisions or action, they will be dealt with, and accountability will be done.
Okay, Minister, last question. The incident was used with your picture on it in a post by the Okanagan Conservative Riding Association, and it said, "This is what you get when you have affirmative action." Now, some Conservatives have apologized, but did you take that post as being racist?
I was very disappointed when I saw that, and of course, it's a racist gesture. First of all, I've dealt with these types of things throughout my life, so it doesn't bother me as much. But in leadership roles, regardless of party, we need to set a positive example for all Canadians, because at the end of the day, it's our younger generation who we need to build the confidence, and making sure that regardless of what background that you have an opportunity to succeed and reach the highest levels of any profession through performance. And I'm very proud of our cabinet, the tremendous people that we have, regardless of gender, ethnicity. I'm very proud to be able to work with them, and I just want to also say is that I was very thankful to hear other Conservatives, members of Parliament, to come out and apologize, not only apologize for this, but also denounce it as well.
All right, Minister, as always, appreciate your time. Enjoy your weekend.
Great, thank you. You too.